Oh.
Boom! Komoda, right there, right? We just showed up.
Damn.
Where about?
Or for our dyslexic friends, Atomic.
You know what I'm saying? There we go. So I'm Al Mega with the usual suspects of Dave Elliott and Chris Buse. What's up, muchachos? Que pasa?
How are you guys? Everything good?
Living the dream, brother. Living the dream. You know how we do.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
How are you guys doing?
Excellent.
Hey, I'm great. I'm fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinated.
Excellent, Dave. Excellent. Hey, we're in Germany doing everything by the book, so it will take till September. Yay.
No, it's only because the UK's bought up all the supplies. That's the only reason.
Yeah, you best. That's
the only reason you're vaccinated. We are.
You have the best. You have the better comics and the vaccine. That is not fair.
Apparently, Dave wants to start another war over here already.
Yeah. If he got Marvel Men on his side, we are doomed.
All right, yeah, that's actually a great topic. I actually love that character. It's something I did run across in an Eclipse comic book back in the day. That's how I kind of got my early look at it. I was like, who's this cool character? Reminds me, but I never heard of him before. And, you know, it's put in a book. Loved it.
Can't remember if I read Warrior #1 first or if I got one of the Eclipse issues first. No, but man, that is something.
It is something. It was definitely an amazing title for its time, and it's a shame on you, Marvel, for not even using these bad boys right now.
They're not so politically correct, are they?
No. They're all quiet because this is the man behind, you know, that loves Marvel, man, or Miracle Man, or whatever is appropriate to call him.
I think it's appropriate to call him Marvel Man. Wouldn't you agree, Dave?
Well, he is Marvel.
Yeah, here we go.
All right.
But technically, he's Captain Marvel.
Technically, he's Shazam.
And what's that technicality?
We're gonna cover that, aren't we?
We will.
Yes, we are.
Sickening detail. It's sickening detail.
Before we do anything, I want to plug somebody's book.
Oh,
I haven't finished reading it.
You posted about that. Excellent.
Hold on. You got to show that. Look at that gorgeous book.
Oh my god! It's just. I have to say this is probably I'm 3/4 of the way through, and it's probably the best comic I've read in like 20 years or so.
Wow! So this is not an art. This is not an art book. This is a comic.
Oh,
I thought
it's a 380-page graphic novel.
Oh, cool!
380 pages.
Oh, wow! Cool.
It's in black and white. Yeah, it's in black and white, but it doesn't need the color at all. It's utterly fantastic.
It's Barry Windsor Smith, right?
Barry Windsor Smith, the Barry Windsor Smith, the Conan artist extraordinaire.
Wow.
And a cheers to you guys is what I'm having as we talk Marvel, man. I figure let me drink like a gentleman with you guys today.
Yeah, I'm drinking some orange juice here.
Well, I'm torn. What shall I be drinking?
Both. This is the drunken stream.
Especially when we're going to talk
about when Dave is drunk, he will tell us the secrets of Alan Moore. Have you actually been to Alan Moore's? Have you been to Alan's Magic Cave? Have you been to Alan's Magic Cave?
Yes, I have.
Wow.
And that is, yes, I have. And that is exactly why I'm not drinking. I am not going to be drinking, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So you let me know.
Not even a little bit.
Pop off the screen, bro. I'm gonna pop off that awesome images. You could give us the rundown and teach people here about this amazing character that again is being disrespected in current comic worlds, I believe.
Is it being disrespected?
Well, I mean,
think it's
all the big for me, it's a total disrespect if when you make a big deal. Oh, I'm gonna get this character, and all you really damn did is reprint the OG run, and then we're still waiting. You all this hoopla. I got this character. I got this character. I've seen Angela. Obviously much more than I've seen Marvel Man, and he's a much bigger character. I mean, he's called Marvel Man. Wouldn't you just kind of I'm gonna use him? That's branding, dude.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's weird. So I feel like we're starting sort of halfway through the conversation. I mean, Marvel decided to finish, and because of that, they felt on about stick to Miracle Man, even though they do have the rights to call him Marvel Man. But they figured that everyone in the US knows him as Miracle Man now. But I think my personal feeling is this, that they want to give the completed Miracle Man before they introduce Marvel Man into the Marvel Universe.
When is that going to happen?
So they're going to keep them as two separate characters.
I remember a new book announcement. Apparently, like you said, the continuation and that story. But what happened? I mean, nothing happened, right?
But I mean, the story finished with issue 16.
We've had the story.
Anyway. Story was finished with issue 16, so I don't really care.
I believe something else was supposed to come out.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I think like I mostly agree with Chris in that the Marvel Man story, like Alan's Marvel Man story, has been told. Like the only thing to tell is what happened between these two characters in the background, in between those two stories, which it could be interesting, but it kind of the story been told. It's like if Marvel decided that the next 10 Marvel movies were all going to take back in time, in place, in between the Marvel movies, that we know the outcome of them already. So
understood, but it's new stories I'm worried about. I just do something new. You have the character, you have the rights. Just use the character. Just don't keep them on the side.
But I think there's something. We've been talking here on this podcast for years. I think it feels about comic stories never resolve. They never finish. There's never an end to the Peter Parker storyline. And here we have a story that is completely wrapped up with issue 16. Everything is said and done. This is like a novel. It's complete. Why do you need a sequel?
We don't. I mean, let's be honest. We don't.
I'm just asking for the use of the character, at least within the greater Marvel U. I would like to see that interaction just as a fan, because again, hoopla made when they got him.
I think what would interest me is not so much the Marvel Man character. I would keep him on the sidelines. I would rather be interested in learning more about the world Marvel Man has created at the end of issue 16. And that is an interesting world. We see these look-alike Johnnies walking around, and there's rebels, and we will talk about the political implications, the irony here, which turned out to be quite ironic here, that I thought it was very funny. The liberals, the freedom fighters, are the rednecks, right-wing guys in the South, American South. These are now the new liberators, the freedom fighters. I thought it was quite ironic. But nevertheless, why not talk about characters, the kids who grow up in this Marvel Man world, who only know this Marvel Man world, and they hear from the older generation, oh, we had a different world once before the gods came. That would be interesting.
I think that, do you know what? Should we start at the beginning? Because what we're doing is we're talking amongst ourselves, and as you found out on Twitter, Chris, there are people who don't have they still haven't read Marvel Man.
Exactly. Let's go here to the beginning. That's an excellent picture here. I love this picture. And hello to Snowmation, by the way.
Yeah. What up?
He was here early. He was here before any of us.
Wow, excellent.
Was here talking about Shazam and
Yo.
Oh, very cool.
Actually, I do remember. I think it was in an issue of Not Brand X where they did a Marvel Man story. Sorry, not Marvel Man, a Captain Marvel story. Because it was a parody, because it was humor. His magic word was Shamavi. I think that's what Marvel Man's new sign should be. He shouldn't be saying commercially, say Shamavi.
You know, but when you come from New York, it sounds but a Shamavi. You know what I mean? It sounds like
Shamavi.
Hey,
there's this great panel. I mean, we're just jumping again, but there's this great panel in one of the Storm comics. We're not talking Marvel Storm, but we're talking Don Lawrence, fantastic series Storm, where he snuck in Captain Marvel as a side character. It's hilarious. But I couldn't find a bigger resolution on the internet. I mean, I have these volumes; they are gorgeous. And but I couldn't find a big resolution on the internet. But it's fantastic. These characters are fighting in their whatever their fantasy world, and suddenly in the background there's Marvel Man, drawn by Don Lawrence.
He might have actually used the Trigon Empire as well in that case.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, he did. Yeah. You see, what is that? Was it Emperor Trigon? Is this red cape? Is he called Emperor? I can't remember. Is it?
Oh, by the way, I've already plugged Barry Smith's Monsters, but
Trigon
Empire. If you haven't seen it, it's available by Rebellion. They've been reprinting. They've got the two volumes out. It is stunningly gorgeous work. It is absolutely stunning work.
I posted from that, and I should post from it again because I think they have the second volume out now. Because I should post from that too. Because it's always
the third volume.
Alex Ross invented painted comics. I say, well, Don Lawrence would like to have words with you. Okay, here we are with Shazam. Why are we here with Shazam, Dave?
Well, as we know, he has a magic word, and I mean, you're in this instance, you're actually a far better historian than I am, Chris. So, Captain Marvel wasn't actually around that long because a lot of his history was actually spent, like while he was being published, there was still backroom fighting. There was publishers suing each other.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, if you plan on doing any writing, here's the hard truth for you. If you are out there writing, Otto Binder is mostly associated with writing for Captain Marvel. We're talking Shazam here now, and the man wrote 10,000 words a day, every day. 10,000 words. He was the best paid comic book writer in the 1940s. He took over. He is basically he didn't invent Shazam, but he is very much responsible for all these ancillary characters like Mary Marvel. He created Mary Marvel. He named his daughter Mary, who was also named after his mother. His mother was also named Mary. And he created all these side characters, and we have great art by C.C. Beck, of course. We have other great artists who worked on this series. And if you think, oh, Captain Marvel is such a silly character for kids, go back to the original run. I mean, these are fantastic stories, and Otto Binder is one of the main writers. I believe he wrote 3,000 stories, and they are all quite interesting. And the problem was that early on, DC said, well, basically, this is a rip-off of Superman. They wouldn't have cared, but Shazam outsold Superman. It's hard to believe, but Superman was really selling millions of copies in the early 40s, and Shazam was outselling that because the kids could identify with a boy who turned into an adult. This is basically a big story. Remember the Tom Hanks movie. And this is really the genius gimmick behind Captain Marvel. We all know the movie, of course. And so DC started litigations, and these litigations went on forever. At the same time, Shazam also appeared in UK comics because the UK publishers secured the reprint rights, and he became immensely popular in the UK as well. Dave can talk to that about that. I think he was really popular in the UK. And to make the long story short, at the end of the 50s, early 50s, no, not the, in the early 50s, two things happened basically. Fawcett, who was the publisher of Captain Marvel, had a generational change. The sons were taking over for their father, and Fawcett was really into getting into the paperback market, not the comic book paperback market, but cheap paperbacks, trade paperbacks, mass market paperbacks, and that was where the money was. Comics were dying, and when DC said, "Well, basically, we will sue you till kingdom comes," they said, "Well, hold your horses. We will settle. We are not interested in this character. You can have it can have him basically. We will cease to publish these books if you give us a little bit of money." And that was basically the end of Shazam. DC didn't buy it outright. They just said, okay, why would we buy him? They bought him later in the 70s. But they said, well, basically, if you stop publishing the character, we're fine with that. Here's a little bit of money. Shut up and walk away. And that's basically what they did. Because there was no money in comic books anymore. And Otto Binder went to DC, interestingly enough. He was afraid they wouldn't hire him. He said, well, come on board. You're a prolific writer. Who cares who you worked for? You work for us now, basically. And he worked on the Supergirl stories. So he took the Mary Marvel character into Supergirl. And so what the problem was now in the UK, because Shazam was very popular, or Captain Marvel was very popular, there were no new comic books because they stopped publishing them. They were no longer making them. Okay. And so what can you do? Well, basically you make your own version of Coca-Cola. They created their own Captain Marvel knockoff. Hello, Blood of Kirby. Thanks for joining us here. Yes, he's artwork.
He's just joining us. He's just joining us to tell us that he's outside in the garden.
Excellent. I should go to my garden too. Yeah, but basically, that's where we are in the early 50s. No more Captain Marvel comic books made in the United States. UK publisher says, well, basically, we want our own Captain Marvel. I think they went to a guy named Mick Angelo and said, well, basically, make our Captain Marvel. And that's basically what he did. And he called him Marvel Man.
Well, that's what the actual the UK publisher did. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, again, you're stuck with one of your biggest selling comics. That's it, it's gone. And so it wasn't. I think this is the very interesting point about as we come into Marvel Man. The interesting point for me about Marvel Man is no one created Marvel Man because I've got this great idea. Here, how does this sound? And someone going, that's a great idea, let's do it. It was a carbon copy of Captain Marvel. They literally just dropped the capes.
With one exception, and you told me about that.
Well,
one exception, you told me about that.
Well, what you mean, apart from Mary Marvel being turned into a boy?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because, you know, obviously that, you know, British comics, you know, there were girls' comics, but they very much, there was like, okay, these are the boys' comics, these are the girls' comics. So they switched Captain Marvel. They made Mary Marvel into basically Dickie Dauntless.
It's where Marvel Man is an adult as opposed to a child, you know?
Well, again, it was the same idea. It was
the idea was the same, but, you know, now we're dealing with somebody that's an adult versus a kid that's having fun with it. Now you have an adult that's perplexed with the idea of what the heck is going on here. So, you know,
no, that is much later. That's later. That is that is much later.
It was still a boy.
He was a boy.
Yeah, Mike Moran was still a boy. Dickie Dauntless was still a boy. Johnny Bates they were still teenagers. They were still young boys.
They were kids. They were all kids.
Yeah, who got to say magic words and became superheroes.
It is actually it is Captain Marvel. It's exactly Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, as much as I hate to say it, the Captain Marvel stories were so superior to the Marvel Man stories. Like, if you've actually managed to get through like one of the collections that Marvel published of the old Marvel Man stories, if you've actually managed to get, congratulations. Like, you know, if you manage to do it in one sitting, even more so. They're pretty boring.
Yeah. Otto Binder
they're very.
Yeah. Go.
They're they're quite tame. A lot of them were just retellings of old. They just basically copied old Captain Marvel stories in some instances, but just not so good. And because the readership was always, you had the sort of readership would always change. One of the things Michelangelo would do is he would tell these stories, and often he would just re-letter, do a couple of little art touch-ups, change what the villain looked like, but repurpose old artwork for a new story, because it'd been 5-10 years since that story was used.
Just to give you an idea on what level we are talking. Otto Binder wrote a story that went for 2 years.
Damn.
That was once in the 40s. That was unheard of. The Monster Society story went for 2 years. I mean, this is unheard of. And in the UK, they were writing these little Monster of the Week stories, basically. That's the difference. Ah, my friend Captain Marvel, the new one.
I love that cover, bro. That shit is fire.
See, but this was Roy Thomas. Not only, not because he was such a fan of Captain Marvel and DC Comics. Not only was he took the name Captain Marvel, and not only once they got it and was securely had it and there was no problems with it, he went ahead and actually turned Captain Marvel into Captain Marvel. It was he smashed the two armbands together, and that's how he went from Rick Jones to Captain Marvel.
So to avoid a misunderstanding, Marvel did not buy the character. They secured the trade name Captain Marvel at that time, which had elapsed, and they said we need that name, and they made their own version of Captain Marvel, which is basically Rick Jones snaps his armbands and he becomes Captain Marvel. Only that they're two different characters, which is exactly what Alan Moore more or less did.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, and this is a loophole that doesn't really exist so much anymore, because these
we're losing Dave.
Yeah, it's bad connection today with Dave here, unfortunately.
It says I've got a really good connection.
Yeah, you do.
It says I've got a good connection.
So. Look at me. Look at Al make a move. Ain't me.
Okay, here we go. The El Mega fitness video.
Hey, there we go.
We need you nerds to get off the couch.
Yeah. So anyway, what Roy Thomas did was he just basically took the whole thing, and this storyline of Captain Marvel here secured that. Now, not only did he have the name, he had a character who he had a starburst instead of a lightning bolt on his chest, but could still transform into a teenager, a young boy, which was Rick Jones.
He looks like
yeah,
he does. He does.
Yeah. What's so interesting about the Captain Marvel, the Marvel Captain Marvel at that period is what Rick Jones did in the Negative Zone, because they couldn't be in the same space, so they traded places. When Rick Jones did some drugs in the Negative Zone, because he was a musician at that time. We all know those have drugs in their pockets. Captain Marvel got affected in our reality as well, and so there was a connection between those two. And that's the thing that Roy Thomas brought to it, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, and not only that, I think that probably led to what Alan Moore did with Marvel Man.
Yeah,
it's the idea of not just a magical, hey, you become something else, but you actually you completely, you go somewhere else. You don't transform magically from one thing to another. You're replaced, and there I have to give you've got to give credit where most of that concept and idea actually came from Gary Leach, because it was Gary had come up with the concept of the idea of transferring the whole, which the conversations between him and Alan ultimately led to the body wardrobes, which aliens, who were the arch enemies of the Warpsmiths, which is where that technology came from. That was the technology they took, that Archer took and Gargunza took to create Marvel Man.
Yeah, which is basically a very different concept to the Shazam concept, but very much connected to the Captain Marvel concept here.
Yeah.
Because basically you also have Captain Marvel as an alien, which is also very different. Oh, that's a very nice shot of Carol here.
Well, I felt that I felt obliged that, look, we have to go the whole, like, just to sort of seal that passage of conversation off. Obviously, Captain Marvel ultimately became a woman, and yeah, but if you look at it now, the current, like, Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel, doesn't bear any of that resemblance now to the original Captain Marvel. There's no body transfer. There's no changing from one to another.
Yeah, but visually she looks very much like a Marvel woman.
Right.
Doesn't
oh yes,
she?
yeah, very much. Yep.
Great job. Oh boy, I got this bad boy. Yeah.
Are we going here already? Because that is not the beginning, and this is very interesting because this first Marvel issue of Marvel Man is very different to the first issue of Warrior, where this first appeared in, because we have a run up by I think it's by Alan Davis, who did a Segway story here in the Michelangelo style.
Oh no! So that wasn't so.
Okay, check it. I got you.
So if you go,
check this out.
Yeah, that's here. That's my pages now, where we go to the Warrior. But Dave,
what I was going to say is, so if you look at Warrior, there was an issue of Warrior that was basically called a summer special.
Okay, here we go.
And that was what they did there, was they needed to put publication out. They called it Marvel Man because they wanted to put the name out, but they didn't want to risk. They were trying to do it softly, so they didn't want to upset. They were trying to do it under Marvel's radar. So they put it out in the UK. It was mostly reprint with a couple of new pages by Alan Davis in. Okay. Most of the Alan Davis new pages made their way into, I think it was the 3D special.
Okay.
Where it hinted at backstory. I think I included them in my presentation, those pages. But what that was done for is to get another publication out, but they wanted to get a magazine title out with Marvel Man on it, so that they could lay claim to the magazine title of Marvel Man. Unfortunately, that is actually what got Marvel's attention. Otherwise, it would have gone completely under the radar.
Interesting.
And so when you look at Miracle Man #1, the setup is you see that old story, Mick Anglo style, and that leads into the new material by Gary Leach and Alan Moore. That's what you're seeing now on the screen is the original version, where it went straight into Marvel Man. Because bear in mind, this is 1980. So at this point, the Marvel Man comic had only been out of exactly.
Look at the
Marvel Man comic. Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. It's currently Captain Marvel. But it's Marvel Man had only been out of print for maybe like 15 years. So a lot of people would have remembered who Marvel Man was.
And if you go back to the first to the cover of this issue, of the first issue, they have him in shadow, and they say, "Oh, returning to the modern world." If you go back to the very first page, there he is. There he is. Who is this guy?
Reborn. Yep.
Exactly.
And you also get the first appearance of V in here too.
Exactly. That is the start of V for Vendetta. Exactly.
Yep. Now there was.
You guys are crazy.
I had this issue. Yeah. What a great issue that was.
I love the name. Axel Press Button, the psychotic cyborg. Holy shit.
Yep. And she is Laser Razor.
Mr. Mastrausis.
And look at this
How
web viral.
good, how good is Gary Leach's artwork here? I mean, it's unbelievably good.
So
Look at
what I'm
how
going to tell
incredible
you
this looks.
is go back and look at those pages again and think to yourself, Paul Newman is Marvel Man, and Catherine Hepburn as Liz Moran.
Do you think? I think it's more Ellie McGraw with the short haircut.
I actually know for a fact that's who he used as reference.
Okay.
So it's basically that's where he was going with those two characters. It's very clear, like in some of the shots, you can definitely see the Paul Newman influence. Like it's very, very clear.
And over here, you can see a villainy of Black Adam.
Yeah, that is Black Adam. That is our version of Black Adam. Yeah, Black Adam.
Oh yeah.
Which is also quite interesting because it's doing the superhero as the super bad guy.
Now, when you look at the page that's on the screen right now, go back one page, right? That artwork is Alan Davis and Gary Leach.
You can see it. You can see it in the faces, I think.
But the faces actually
softer.
Slightly softer, but if you it's very Gary is one of those people. He reminds me like Kevin Nolan, where when Kevin Nolan inks you, it's very difficult to actually see who he inked because he's.
I like this image here, just so well done with the black and white. You know,
we also see this in color later because they reprinted this in the next couple of pages. We see this in color.
And if you remember, Chris, online, when I talked to you, I mentioned the Matrix. Remember that image when Neo is up against Agent Smith in Matrix Revolutions in the end? You'll see some sequences from that fight that literally, they must have had Gary's artwork on the walls when they were storyboarding that sequences.
I'm very sure they were. Because this is the interesting thing. Because also when you go to the Eclipse issues, we are still in the very early, the first run here, the first storyline, and already we see what a formidable villain Kid Marvelman. Is it Kid Marvelman? I think it's Kid Marvelman, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kid Marvelman. Johnny Bates is because this is such an amazing thing. The way Moore builds the story is so incredible. Because just to give the people who are a little bit lost here all of a sudden, what are you talking about? We talked about how Marvelman was a copy of the original Captain Marvel of Shazam, what we call him today. And this was the concept they ran with in the United Kingdom in the 50s and 60s. And then sort of the character fell into obscurity. And in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a magazine publisher called Des Skinner, and he got the idea to say, well, let's bring this character back, but let's make him different. And Alan Moore was an upcoming writer, and Gary Leach, they had the idea to do it in a different way. And what they came up with was the idea to have Gary, the real secret identity of Marvelman has become a middle-aged man. He grew old, and he has forgotten about his superhero self. So the kid he used to be, who had these adventures, he became a middle-aged, disillusioned man. And only by accident he remembers this magic word. And now we have not a kid who turns into a superhero, but Homer Simpson. And that's the premise where we start.
Well, there's some really interesting story aspects that come up later. That it's the ramifications of what Alan Moore played with as the idea of hey, look, you've become this guy who's immensely powerful, but it's not really you. You are still your physically body. It's your mind, it's your brain. But he's aware that he thinks differently. His brain is different. He's wired differently when he's Marvel Man to when he's Mike Moran.
Which is so interesting because it's if Superman and Clark Kent were two different people. And in the end, the first thing Moore plays with is who would the wife of Mick Moran choose? This slubby guy or this buff superhero? That's the first thing he plays with. And then we come up against one of his former sidekicks who is also aged, and only then we find out that, oh no, he is not the little sidekick who has grown up to become a man. He is the evil guy, and he has turned evil. He is the powerful guy, and he has been around the whole time in hiding.
Yeah.
And these two guys go up against each other. And this is think about Superman and General Zod in Man of Steel. And this is only the beginning.
Yep.
And right here, what tells you where this is going? I don't want to spoil this, but this is where this is exactly. This is why the story finishes with 16, because in issue 16, what do we see? Captain Marvel put on a fascist uniform, and this is basically where this is going.
I have to say that page was wholly produced by Gary Leach.
Wholly produced, nice.
Completely produced by Gary Leach.
It's a brilliant page. It already tells you where the story is going.
See, so the interesting part is this: you're now presenting something to a US audience it's a UK character. So basically, now Britain is re-exporting Captain Marvel back to America, but just calling him Marvel Man. But they can't call him Marvel Man, so they call him Miracle Man. And to give it, just so that people understand the context of it all, that's when I was about to say reprint the Captain Marvel story or a Miracle Man story in the beginning. One of the problems with a lot of the British publishing, it was on very, very poor quality newsprint. And as we know, particularly sort of in the early 80s, finding ways to reproduce from very bad newsprint was incredibly difficult. So all of the early stories, so that story in use that was in that issue, all the stories from the 3D special that was produced and any others around that time, all of those stories had to be recreated. So basically that first story that was in that issue, Gary had completely re-ink that story. So he recreated that story because you didn't have anything good enough of good enough quality to reproduce from. And so Gary re-inked that, and then he took that one panel and turned it into an 8-panel page from one panel piece of artwork. Wow. But all of this was done at a time. By that stage, when that first issue of Miracle Man was produced, Alan Moore was no longer talking to Des Skin.
No.
Oh, no. See, no. You see, that's the thing. That's the thing that everyone sort of kind of forgets at the time, is that by that stage, like Warrior's no more. When Miracle Man #1 came out, Warrior, I think, was had its last issue just come out. And it was already Warrior was already coming out sort of infrequently. It couldn't keep up because basically it wasn't commercially. Unfortunately, it wasn't commercially viable.
Which is unbelievable.
It just couldn't survive.
It's just so strange.
But again,
maybe it's the format. But what a great series.
Yeah, no, I mean, unfortunately, it would have been a great format if it was a weekly. It was in a almost like 2000 AD format. It was like an older 2000 AD in the same format. It was serialized stories when it works for a younger audience if you can keep it weekly. If you're going to do something monthly in that format, you have to have more self-contained stories.
I mean, if you imagine reading V for Vendetta over 12 months or 14 months, and you get lost in the plot.
It was 2 years, and it didn't actually. And neither Marvel Man and V for Vendetta, neither of which were finished in Warrior. They were both. V for Vendetta was finished at DC, and Miracle Man, Marvel Man was finished at Eclipse.
Yeah, which is so amazing. Crazy. And here we have the same. Okay, yeah.
No, go on, finish your thought, Chris.
No, I was just want to say here we have the pages again from the first issue in the reprint, in the color reprint.
Yep.
In color. Yeah.
Yep.
that.
And this is the scene we saw earlier. Look how great the colors are. I mean,
Yeah, but
these
this-
are 80s colors. This is so amazing.
But this shit drives me. That's
Look
straight
at these.
Marvel, bro.
Look at these faces. I mean, this is so Roman. This is so Roman.
Well, the thing is, it was so well drawn by Gary and later by Alan Davis. It was so well drawn. And also there was graded tints were used, like graded tint. Because if you go back and look at the black and white artwork, you can see there's tints laid over it, and they couldn't take those off. They were part of the artwork, so they had to color on top. So this was this. While I don't think the coloring was fantastic, I do think that it was effective in that it was simple. They didn't try modeling it like with that whole modeling 3D sort of airbrushed look of computer coloring. They didn't have that at the time. So they did it. They kept it looking very American comics, very flat colors, because all the grading was already done in the artwork.
What is also interesting, you mentioned the Matrix earlier. When I flipped through these pages again, I was struck by how much green there's. And when you go to the Matrix, there's a lot of green in the Matrix too, black and green. It's the same here.
Let me tell you, the black and white looks better of this.
Yeah, it does. See, that's the thing. It was drawn for black and white. It was incredibly effective for black and white. And it's like, and again, it's like, you know, I hope to God I don't ever have to see a color version of Monsters from Barry Smith, because the black and white.
Guess what? In 5 years from now.
I'm sure.
Oh shit! And there goes corporate America stomping all over Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
The guy in the tie. Those people in ties, man, you can't trust them.
And this is only our second issue.
Only the second issue is really massive drama.
Yes. And this is the world reacts to the Superman being loose again. And this is also what Alan Moore does quite well. It's bringing this into a grounded reality. It's not like, oh, Superman's flying by, how great is that? It's, God, we are all doomed because we have these massive characters running around. And this is the end of the world. And it will be in more or less in a metaphorical sense. But this is the beginning.
Well, they thought Archer had thought he'd killed them all.
Yeah.
He's getting his ass handed to him. He reminds me of Toyo Harada from Valiant. It's like, I think he was probably
because Dave already alluded to this. Because what Alan Moore also did is he completely deconstructed the origin story. What he would later do in Swamp Thing, only 1 or 2 or 3 years later, he did here. The idea of the fantasy concept of the benevolent wizard who gave these characters superpowers. It's all an illusion. It's all a secret government experiment. So the government wanted to bring these characters in, and they tried to kill them, and that's how they lost their memory.
And if you look at Zack Snyder's Man of Steel,
very much so.
Yeah, but if you look at it, it's kind of flipped a little bit here, because the advantage Superman had against General Zod was had his powers for much longer than Zod had.
Exactly.
And Zod was he was military. So he was learning them very quickly. So he had to do something very quickly to take him down. This is the case where Johnny Bates had never lost his powers for 15 odd years, for 18 years. He grew to an adult using those powers, experimenting with the abilities, learning that he had other abilities than just Marvel Man had no idea what powers he really had. Yeah. Johnny Bates was very aware of what he could do. And that's why he managed to overcome Marvel Man so easily, or relatively easily.
Yeah. But in the end, he forces him to change into his other identity, into his other persona. And this is the world he lives in. He is a basket case, which comes back to haunt Marvelman later. Because this is a mistake Marvelman will not make later, because he lets the guy live. And this would not turn out so well for London. shall
Well,
we
you
say.
know what, folks? In real life, that's the real life.
What's the real lesson? Kill your enemy.
Yeah.
You guys taught me that, Chris. Your people taught me that. Stop it.
Ooh.
I'm playing.
Ooh. Okay. Alan Moore introduces an African American character here, which is also an interesting plot element here, which will come back later.
It is nice, though. Yeah.
Mr. Cream.
Great.
Mr. Cream.
Great
Mr.
character.
Cream. Great character. Absolutely great character. And Alan has plans. Alan has plans with this character. And Mr. Cream is the sort of conspiracy guy who tells this Mr. Marvel Man his true backstory. How everything was transplanted into his brain. All these adventures he had in the 50s, they were all transplants.
Cream stands for cash rules everything around me. Okay, I think that's what.
Yeah, you saw his grill. Obviously, the man is healed.
He gangster, son.
Oh, he is a gangster.
I mean, yo, where do these people come up with these words? What type of weed did they smoke, or what were they on to come up with these words? Kimono, Gonza.
I think isn't he like a guy from South America?
Homie right here, big homie.
Well, but see, it's interesting that Kimoto, it's the word atomic backwards. It's quite, when you look at it, it's like it's not you say weed, but actually it's cool.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. As for Gonza, I mean, that's who the villain was, and now we find he's a scientist. But of course, like every evil scientist, we'll later find out he is the villain.
Now I see where you got the spelling for Atomica.
Yeah, well, you know, in a way, what we did with Atomica, it wasn't any deliberate sort of thinking about Marvel Man. We were coming up. Remember, we came up with the title Atomica in the mid 1980s, and we were looking for a title that kind of look to the future, because in the 80s we were still sort of I think a lot of people in the 80s still thought that we'd have jetpacks by the year 2000.
I'm pretty sure, bro. I mean, you're still stuck in the 80s. You seeing the jetpack slowly.
Yeah.
But by the way,
it was trying to create a name that sort of spoke to the future.
By the way, this is great art by John Ridgway, who somebody on Twitter reminded me of, also did art on Hellblazer. I had forgotten about that one. Great art. I really like this art.
Very, yeah. I mean, he's not
very Don Lawrence. It's very Don Lawrence, I feel.
Oh yeah, he's very much in that school. I mean, I don't consider John to be underrated in the UK, because people, I think, are very aware of who he is. I think they would like to see his work more. I think in the US, I think a lot of people have forgotten who he is. But he was an incredibly good artist, and I'm surprised people aren't using him. He's still producing art.
If you go to the next page, I think that's a.
But before we go that, you know, I gotta be an asshole. I'm sorry, but look at it. What they draw his ass like a Georgia peach. What happened? Is he from Georgia?
Well, I didn't pick the cover for issue 5, but you see his buttocks on the cover. I mean, this is. But here we see, and this is how they experiment on these characters. These are orphans they steal from the street. This is once again more a little bit in the 80s. We hate the government vibe.
Yeah, you see it. Look, they're experimenting on children, these bastards.
Oh, they do, and they also rape girls. This is Alan Moore. Welcome to the club.
You see, the thing is, I don't think it's so much hating the government as in revealing them. Like, you know, I think, you know, you look at this and everyone's sort of, oh, you painted the government out to be evil.
Oh shit! Look who's here.
No.
That's the influence.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I recently saw a documentary about the development of biological weapons in the UK, where they tested biological weapons on soldiers, where they just told them, "Oh, these are just vaccination shots," and the guys died from this, and this basically was an allergic reaction.
Do you know where they got the idea from?
That's crazy.
No,
Got the idea from the Americans, who in turn got the idea. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, they got the idea from the Germans.
Who got the idea from the Japanese, I believe, because
Yeah,
they
probably.
also did a
Pass
lot
the
of.
fuck away. Why not?
Let's just say everybody did this shit, but they kept it a secret for 40. They kept it a secret for 40 years.
Yeah,
This is a great page. This is a great page by John Ridgway here. I love this page.
So much shit going on, bro. Look at this. Up, and we're going back.
And this is once again, just put this page. This is where Alan Moore does a Roy Thomas. Do you know why? This title for the story is from a very famous book. This is John Ferris' most famous book. John Ferris' most famous book, which I'm also stealing for my novel, actually, because it's one of the most famous horror books ever written. And this is what Alan Moore does here, because what he basically does is he's putting the black men back into the jungle. This is a very, very loaded story here. And I don't know if you want to go into too much detail here, but this is it's the 80s, and Alan Moore is very, very much aware of what's going on here. He has the black guy reduced to a primitive in a colony setting. And this is basically Alan Moore's criticism of the UK colony system vis-a-vis black people. It's utterly amazing here. And you see what's left of him, his scroll.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. And there you see Mike Moran as this fat, slubby guy who's a superhero. He can't remember.
This
and
is
when he remembers,
this
is his alternative. This is his alter ego.
you see, one of the things that Gargunza had implanted in the minds of everybody, of all of the Marvel men, was if he had a secret code, like they had their names, their code names, like their magic words, Kimota, to turn into the superheroes, but he had one that would change them back.
Switch them off. That would switch them off. And this is why he overrides the program. And this is where it changes, because his wife is threatened. They had killed Mr. Cream. His wife is pregnant. Gonza has kidnapped them. He knows everything that has happened to him. This is the moment where he turns into basically what he's Homelander now.
Yep.
He completely changes. And if you go to the next page, you know what happens now.
Shit. Look at this shit. God damn, bro. Talk about smashing.
This is the Superman. This is what Alan Moore tells us here.
I love it.
Human as he can be, because you can mess with his mind, but he has
That's
these powers.
Omni-Man right there. Omni-Man go on crack right here. Look at this shit.
You know what happens to that guy? He puts his hand through his chest.
Oh, damn, bro. I mean, but see, for me, this is so much more truth of what a Superman would do. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't expect a being with such power knowing that we're so useless in a sense compared to him. You know what I mean? Or her.
Well, basically they're threatening his pregnant wife. And he's basically saying, okay, guys, you didn't show us any mercy. Now we're coming back at you.
I got you, son. I ain't going to show you shit. And that's what's bad. Like, humans, stop fucking with people like this. What's wrong with you?
Well, I think that's where Zack Snyder was going with the Justice League. Whereas, where if Darkseid had eventually would kill Lois Lane, and and he would use his trauma to actually brainwash him, and that's what brings him under, and that's why he's able to just go around killing other superheroes.
That's a nightmare verse. That
which absolutely makes sense. Which absolutely makes sense, and this is also here Alan Moore telling us very early on before Watchmen, don't trust these super gods.
Of course not. They're coming. Oh man, look at this.
Oh, the Steve Jeppy commemoration issue. This is the issue Diamond wouldn't want to carry because oh no, it features childbirth.
There's actually
in graphic detail.
I have this issue too. Yeah, this is a crazy.
And talking about Jesus metaphor, here we go.
Yeah, right. Look at this. I mean, right on the first page. Yo, there you go, son.
And we see the birth of Super Baby. Meanwhile, back in Johnny's mind, things are not going so well because he
Doesn't he look
remembers
like
that he.
first Flash colors?
Mm-hmm.
And he remembers. This is a great cover. I really like this cover.
Oh yeah, well, look at that. The repository.
By the way, we had art by Rick Veitch in the meantime, and this is when everything changes because John Totleben comes on the book, and this is when everything changes.
Own right, yo, yeah. I got this issue. Yep, I got, like I said, I got a handful of them, which isn't bad. And now after this, they're only gonna go up in value because once ICC talks about something, it's a wrap, folks.
Yes, yes. You can buy the Marvel reprints. They are
no. I'll get the originals. Make mine more valuable, please.
Of course.
Cool.
But look at how very much this is already Swamp Thing here.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is so much Swamp Thing already here.
Oh.
And this is the character Alan Moore created for this series because there's also a female Marvel character here, which we didn't have in the original, as we already discussed.
See, it's flipped over here, inverted, if you will, Marvel Woman.
Exactly. And she looks so bloody 80s. Incredible.
I got one too, folks. It's on eBay if you want it. All right.
Here we go.
Are there links below?
I'll share them.
This is the issue. This is the issue where Alan Moore more or less tells us the unpleasant stuff. We don't need to go into detail here, but we know what happened to her. We get the idea.
This painted style on paper page back in the day.
It's incredible. Dave, do you know the colorist? I didn't look it up. But this is gorgeous artwork here.
Yeah.
Gorgeous artwork here.
This over here with the octopus. Oh yeah, that's really Watchmen right here.
but the octopus is not an octopus, of course.
Awesome, bro.
This is only her way to process what's going on.
Woo!
Yeah, the thing is, they tap when they go into their superhero identity. They tap into a different dimension.
Yeah.
And this is the other rape that is happening here, because Johnny gets raped. Alan Moore goes there. I didn't pick the graphic pages.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. You know what? We should have done it. Story, and it's got to be seen to show people why this character is so intense and the story is so nuts.
No, I think people could go and find those pages for themselves.
Yeah, because basically he's in this what would you call it, a reform house, a reform school, and he basically the other kids come at him.
It's basically juvenile hall.
Yeah, and basically the other kids come at him and pull down his pants and say, "Come on, say the magic word, say that you like it," and that's when he remembers his magic word, and then the shit hits there.
Yep, it really hits the fan, boy.
And this is the issue that changed comic books forever. This is, and I once again didn't take the graphic. If you have a sensitive stomach, do not look at this issue because it is very, very brutal. To this day, I believe this is the most brutal comic that's ever been published.
Really?
It's just unbelievably brutal. You see people skinned, and it starts with people, because the thing is, he is waiting for Marvel Men and Marvel Women to return, and he's bored, and he's killing the people of London just to amuse himself in the most brutal way. Yeah. And Marvel Man comes in and says, well, basically, I should have arrived 5 hours earlier. I could have saved millions of people.
Oh, look at this shit, bro.
It's in a way, it's a very, very extreme version of what Darth Vader did to Han Solo to get Luke Skywalker to come to Bespin.
Look at this destruction. Look at all that death, folks.
Yeah, it's long basically wiped out. It's long basically wiped out by the super gods.
Yeah, crazy. And I love the scene over here because you see him walking up until he gets to this point to sit down. You know,
And this is of course a play on Hamlet here, which is also where the book goes next. It's basically because from here on out, what do you do next? You assume total power, and this is basically Margaret Thatcher said, but basically we have nothing to say anymore. We are out. Marvel Man is taking over the world.
Crazy.
And this is where Alan Moore goes. With the story. He brings this to its logical conclusion. It's basically Marvel Man says, we know, we are the super gods. We will rule this earth now. We will tell you, you don't need money anymore. We create a paradise for you.
Yep, he's the benevolent god.
How is he going to solve the issue of us getting comic books? If there's no money, what's the incentive for the creators to create for us to have books?
you get everything. This is basically the dream. They give you everything they think you need.
Yeah, like Charles Manson over here. Look at this mofo.
Think about it. Now think about it. If comic creators, let's just say every single comic creator got universal basic income, and you could just produce a comic of your dream and spend the time with it, the quality of comics would be amazing, because you'd only have the people who wanted to do the comics doing them.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the idea of utopia.
Okay, Dave, I vote for you. Now you running for office.
But you see there is resistance. What I was talking to earlier, the crazy guys in the redneck states, they haven't understood that times have changed. And you have the Johnny lookalikes, and you have here the fellow travelers who say, "Oh, come on, this is the new world, great."
Look, and this gang here is called the Clark Kents, because you see the little Superman.
No, they're the Johnny lookalikes. They're basically the Joker gang. They're basically the Joker gang. And here you see what's going on. This is Alan Moore bringing this to its final conclusion. It's the Superman. It's the white Aryan, and he puts on the uniform. He is now the supreme leader.
And folks, just so you know, that if Chris were to get up, this is how he would look right now.
Oh, definitely. I wear black, of course. Here you go.
Hey, somebody's missing.
Yeah, Dave conked out on us. But talking about the internet connection failed us. But this is going. We can keep the page on if you want to. But this is basically where this story goes. It's basically what Alan Moore told us on the first page. And this is completely deconstructing. We're talking about deconstruction here. This is completely deconstructing the idea of Superman.
Completely.
Dave is back. Yeah, we were just talking about the idea that Alan Moore tells us. I mean, this is what I really like about this. I don't know for sure. Maybe you talked with Alan about this, Dave. But I think I have the idea that once he put the first page in the book, where he already tells you where this is going, he already knew the end. I think it really feels like something where he said, "Okay, I know the end point of this. I know where this is going."
I think by the time they reprinted it, he knew where it was going to end. I don't think he entirely knew when he started writing it. And I think a lot of that has got to do with he probably didn't know if he could.
Right.
Like, he certainly couldn't have done it if it had been Warrior. Warrior wouldn't have been allowed to have the rape scenes in Warrior. It's a newsstand publication, so it would never have been allowed to happen.
Oh, makes sense completely, because Eclipse was direct market, right? Makes total sense.
So, and they pretty much let him just do what he wanted. So, in fact, if it had continued to be published by Warrior, and if that had carried on, it would have probably gone. It would have been quite different. It would have had to have been more subtle. Mm-hmm. We've had to have avoided a lot of those type of issues. We wouldn't have seen it. It would have all happened off panel.
Definitely. But I like it the way it was printed. And I think what is also more interesting is if Eclipse had stuck around, what Alan Moore would have produced after that. I mean, it's quite interesting. Had he not gone to DC, had he stayed with Eclipse, had he done his own character. I mean, it's not his own character, but V for Vendetta very much is his own character. What kind of interesting...
Well, hold on. sorry, V for Vendetta is David Lloyd and Alan Moore's character.
Okay, so of course David Lloyd is the co-creator, but you know what I meant. It's sort of
I know what you meant.
Alan Moore's vision.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Of course, David Lloyd is the co-creator here, and Gary Leach is very much the co-creator of this version of Marvel Man, of course.
I mean, you know, David Lloyd. One of the, I think I sent a quote across to Al with an image. It was from an interview with Alan Davis, where when Alan Davis took over doing Marvel Man, it wasn't that one. It was the next one. That I want to talk about in a minute. When Alan Davis first heard about it, at this point, he hadn't even, I don't think he'd even seen any of the artwork that Gary had produced. He just got to hear he was going to be working with Alan. So he went up to see Alan, and he saw all of Gary Leach's and David Lloyd's artwork and notes and visuals for the characters. Because in the instance of V for Vendetta, David Lloyd was going to be doing this strip before Alan Moore became part of it. So now I'm not saying that David came up with V for Vendetta, but the idea of something that was very much like the Night Raven character that David had done for Marvel, and he'd also worked with Alan on. He was hoping to do something like that for Warrior, and of course, Alan just took it to a whole other level.
Of course, but what's so interesting? I mean, what's so interesting about this is Alan Moore. If you read V for Vendetta in one setting, and I did, it's basically Alan Moore's version of Batman. It's a Batman story. It's Batman finding his Robin, grooming his Robin, because V is very much in control of the whole book. He has his secret ways. He has his cave. He is never in danger. He always has a plan, and he's grooming his Robin.
I thought it was I thought it was more like where Chris Nolan went with the last Batman movie, where Bruce Wayne was giving up being man, but you've got the potential
the ingenue coming in and getting trained, because that's what he does with Ivy. He's training her more or less the whole time.
Oh no, I'm talking about the other character who, like the very last, pretty much one of the very last scenes.
Oh, what is it, Gordon
Lovett,
what's it called?
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The idea being whether it's going to be the new Batman or, Batman Beyond.
Because you have showed potential. I let you in on my secret, and you can do with it what you want. I'm retiring anyway.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit too pink.
Yeah, no, I think that's also like, so there's an interesting part about this page where, you've got the astrophysicist who's the good guy who gives them the power. And I was part of some conversations to potentially do new stories before Marvel bought them. We were in discussions to do new stories, and it wasn't so much continuing on with what Alan had done with Marvel Man. It was bringing it back into print, but also adding stories that would not quite be necessarily under Alan's supervision, but with creators that he approved of, filling in some backstory. So just as in Marvel Man, we with Alan Davis, we get to fill in Goggins' story, his rise from working, fighting, being involved in crime on the streets, up until he works his way into government. We find the physicist is.
Yeah, we could also tell Archer's backstory, which would be interesting. There's a lot you can do with
we were going to reveal who he was. Yeah, we were going to reveal who he was, but also we were also going to reveal how God Gunzer took over, and basically, I mean, he would have killed him. So basically, God Gunzer wasn't the one who started this project. it was someone else who was a little bit more benevolent than Archer and Gargunza were.
Gargunza.
But Gargunza and Archer wanted him out of the way. But
we lost Dave again. That's the cables across the internet. They have the vaccine, but they don't have an internet. What is going on in the UK?
Oh, that's the UK, bro. But look at the A bomb, not the Almega bomb. You're saying.
Yep. But I know where Dave was. Okay, Dave's back here. Go on.
Yeah. So yeah, what we were going to do is we were basically going to tell the full story of the origins of the shed. The shed being a place where all the experiments took place.
Yeah, and all the failed experiments and what's going on there. That's an interesting backstory. I would like that. But let's also say
what we're going to do is reprint.
Yeah, I mean it's such a shame. I mean it's such a shame that Alan Moore is not on this train anymore, because also, I mean, just if you go back to the Marvel the Marvel reprints of these issues, he is credited as the writer because Alan Moore refused to give them his name. So these stories are reprinted by Marvel crediting him as the writer. I mean, okay, he's the writer, but I wish Alan Moore would come back to comics.
Yeah, he was.
And this he got is like totally screw the F up, bro.
Yep. Yeah,
Wouldn't
but we love to see Alan Moore coming back to comic books? I mean, that would be so cool.
Absolutely. Listen, but right now, with all the shit that's going on, bro, it's gonna be some really intense writing.
Okay, I wish I actually knew why I was like my internet seems to be sort of pretty strong, so I don't know what's quite going on.
The UK now wants you to talk to this American Puerto Rican named Almega. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole world. So it's not just the UK. That's the whole world.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
But Al just brought up an interesting point, because I said it would be great to have Alan Moore come back. Do you think it would be the current climate we are in at the moment would cause a problem for Alan writing comic books?
Oh, I think so. Shit.
Current climate for Alan writing comic books at Marvel or DC, yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, he doesn't need to either. I mean, he just doesn't need to. And again, it's for him, it'd be going backwards. Like you're really asking someone to really go back and sort of unlearn. It's a bit like asking someone to unlearn everything they've learned and go back.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't think there's a character. I'd be hard pressed to think of a character that he'd want to actually go back and handle. I think he's probably done everything he's wanted to. Have you read his prose books? No. I mean, again, I'm like, see, it's you know, I love the work that Alan's done with comics. You know, and that's where I think he's best. I think Marvel Man, Swamp Thing, even Watchmen, and V for Vendetta, they're still to me his best work. And you know, to a certain extent, some of the stuff he did with Wildstorm, but he's always best when he's got a good collaborator.
Oh, definitely.
Alan writing by himself from scratch, you know, it's something I'm not so much interested in, to be honest. I mean, it's just my personal. I mean, I love, like, he will turn, he can turn anything around. He'll turn it on its head, turn it inside out, you know, cut it up, stitch it back together again, and give you something absolutely amazing.
Really.
And again, it's time and time again, like everything I love that he's done, to a certain extent, it's him working with somebody else's toys. You know, he took Marvel Man and made it something better, but he took something pre-existing and he twisted it, turned it around, and made something better. He did the same with Swamp Thing. To say that, like, obviously there's a lot of good.
I think that's also the great misunderstanding. I mean, if you hear Zack Snyder talk about Watchmen, what Zack lacks, in my understanding, is perspective, because in order to understand Watchmen, you need to know where it comes from, and this is what Alan Moore banks on. He understands that we know these characters, and that he knows that we know these archetypes, and what he's doing with these archetypes. That's the interesting thing. If there had not been any pre-existing superheroes or pre-existing Charlton superheroes, the impact of Watchmen would have been less. You need to understand where this is coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it's why I agree with you. Like Marvel Man has told its run. I mean, again, what I was saying earlier about original plans for working with Marvel Man and the associated characters was Steve Moore was going to be writing one series of strips, and we were going to have a regular Warp Smith comic.
That would have been interesting.
And the Warp Smith suite. Yeah, it was basically it was going to be plotted. Gary Leach would have a big hand in the plotting, but for the most part, it would be written by David Hine, and we would have a series of arcs by different creative teams, inked by Gary Leach when possible.
Nice.
And
also interesting. Very cool. I mean, also interesting. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, plus also, this would also be on the back of there actually being a Marvel Man movie.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Which came very, very close to happening, but Marvel ended up discovering that was incredibly close to happening with an amazing director, writers, everything.
Based on the Moore run.
Mm-hmm. The first film would have been very, very faithful to the first book of Marvel Man. There was a couple of little touches we were just embellishing on, which but very little. I think I've sent you both the outline we were working with.
Yeah.
And when you give that a read, you'll see that we were pretty faithful.
Excellent.
And it would have been pretty faithful.
Excellent.
Well,
Wow.
you think maybe that was a problem?
Consider.
Do you think being too faithful is a problem?
No, why?
No, it was. In fact, particularly the first two books of Marvel Man would have been perfect for the screen.
Yeah.
Adaptation.
Maybe we should explain the 16 issues are bundled in different books. They're different storylines which connect. Yeah, which is, I mean, this is just an amazing thing. But also to people who are watching this and who have not read these issues, I mean, they're all reprinted. You can all go on Comixology, get the Marvel reprints. I mean, they don't look as sweet as these. I really like these old 80s editions. But the Marvel did a good job with those, and they as far as I remember, they didn't censor anything. Everything is there. They branded this as adult, that these are adult comics, and they try to keep everything in. And I really like the Marvel reprints. And just to give you an idea, I mean, Grant Morrison is not a big Alan Moore fan, and when you compare Alan Moore and Grant Morrison, you know where they come from, and you understand that these would not be friends. And Grant Morrison has not many good things to say about Watchmen. But the one series that Grant Morrison praises in his book Super Gods is Miracle Man or Marvel Man. And I think that speaks volumes. I mean, he says, well, basically forget Watchmen, but Alan Moore's best work is really Marvel Man.
Gotcha.
I think Alan, I think as a complete thing, it's Marvel Man is so satisfying. It's a complete thing, and again, to me, Neil Gaiman's Marvel Man stories are pretty much like the before Watchmen stories. It's like, sure, go ahead and do them, and go ahead and buy them, but if you really want to, you don't have to. You can just read the original in its and that's the core. That's all you really need to read.
Yeah, absolutely. In a way, the HBO Watchmen series is closer to Alan Moore's spirit in the way it deconstructs the original text. Is quite interesting, actually. I really like that TV series, even though I understand it got a lot of hate in the internet communities.
People are never happy. Screw.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think basically in the way this is built, the way these 16 issues are built, it's one complete story. It's really like a novel. It has a beginning and an end, and it leads to this end, and it's very well done.
Yeah, the reveal's amazing. The art, the build to everything is just amazing.
Yeah, and the artists, I mean, all top notch. I'm not a huge fan of Chuck Austin's art here. I think it really is pales in comparison, or the other. It's really weak, but all the other artwork is absolutely outstanding.
I'm with you 100 on that. Definitely.
I mean, it's amazing when you see it in its entirety. Looking at the realism of Gary's grounded artwork at the beginning, and then when John Tottleman comes on, and we're not in the realm of the gods, and we see that transformation in the art. Like I've heard some people say, like, "Oh, it'd been great if John Tottleman had drawn it all." No. It's that transition, and obviously there's a couple of little weak spots in the middle, but before John took over, but whole transformation. And it's interesting that one of the things that, again, I was just going to say, one of the things we planned on doing is eliminating would have been taking care of that transition.
Right.
Certain aspect.
Right.
Certain elements would have been redrawn, re-inked, reworked.
Did you guys
So
I mean, it was a fun issue. I have that one also on sale on eBay.
Which one?
Ooh.
3D one.
Well, what's interesting is, so this is another example. So this is Don Lawrence's artwork here. Again, this was an example of we didn't have anything decent in way of printing. So this is actually what you're looking at on screen right now. It's my very first published art job in comics.
Oh, really?
I had to recreate these pages. Yeah, so I had to basically re-ink, trace off, re-ink, and redo these pages.
No wonder you're such a Marvel Man fan, yo. That's your homie. That's part of your start, the origin story of Elliot. Gotcha.
In a way, yeah, in a way.
Al is playing with his action figures. Are you not, Al?
No, I'm just opening something that has been bothering me because somebody cracked it open, and I was like, you get that itch, like, okay, it's fucking open already. Just rip it fucking apart.
Unboxing video. Hey, cool. Oh, look at this. Wow, cool.
Oh,
excellent.
shit. Look, he actually has hair. Look.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. It looks like my beard hair, and it feels like that.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, this is just what we always want to say. I mean, if you haven't checked out this series, if you haven't checked out the Alan Moore run, you're missing out. I mean, that is if you are of a more, let's say, welcoming disposition towards certain topics. I mean, if you are rather not be bothered by any darker material, please stay away. But if you want to venture into darker territory, this is the book to go. I mean, everything else came from this. The Authority, Warren Ellis' Authority. I mean, I worked on this book as well, but this is very much the Ultimates. Everything else comes from this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the Ultimates, man. You know, we were talking not the Ultimates, the Authority. They're bringing that shit back, which to me, like, you know, an Ultimate. I can't wait. They do Authority stuff.
Well, they tried with the New 52, didn't they?
Yeah, but they're bringing a version of a Superman. So it's like a Superman and the Authority. I guess an older part because Jonathan's taken over the mantle now.
Doesn't he have don't they already have a Superman character?
In Apollo, sure they do, but
Yeah,
they've got about they've got about 3 or 4 Superman characters.
Yeah.
Here you go.
We'll always say the Warren Ellis one was really my
But
gem.
he means by that they have a little bit too many and cut the nonsense. That's what he means by that.
Oh, by the way, we should also do a podcast about Planetary.
Oh hell
This is
yeah!
another amazing series.
Well, I was
And
just gonna,
Astro City is another one.
I was just going to say, there's one thing that usually I remember when before Marvel was reprinting Marvel Man, Miracle Man.
Yeah.
There was a lot of comments made about, there was warnings almost. Hey,
Warning.
look, for those of you who have never read this before, you think this is going to be the best thing you've ever read, to be aware that it does, some of the ideas that Alan came up with have been used by others so many times, but some of it doesn't seem as 100% as original as you might be expecting.
Definitely, good point.
But I will tell you, I don't think anyone's done anything as graphic as what Alan's done with Gary, and then through like John Tottleman, particularly at the end of the story.
Right.
It's just
Alan's
a great book. It's a great story.
I mean, there's a reason that isn't it so bizarre? I mean, just sorry to interrupt you, but isn't it so bizarre that Stephen Jeppy had allegedly a problem with shipping the issue 9, which contains childbirth, very anatomically correct, but he had no problems with the issue 15, which shows graphic violence. Isn't that interesting?
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, he rather show
That's
death
America.
than life.
That's more America for you than necessarily. Like, that's just America in a nutshell.
As the only person here representing America, gee, thanks.
Yeah. But I mean, if you pick up issue 9, I mean, this first issue, it's very, very, very well done. I mean, the artwork is very, very nice. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's a birth of a child. I mean, this is where we all come from. Versus issue 15 is Hieronymus Bosch.
Childbirth is traumatizing, because I remember I saw my little one being born, and
okay,
I ain't about to say him after that. Oh my god.
Okay, here we go.
He said, "I won't get graphic, I promise." All right. But look at this. This is Miracle Man meeting the gods, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
The old school gods.
Zeus.
And my god, what did he just say there? A snigger? What's that?
A snigger, that's a laugh.
No. Really? SNIGGER as a word.
It's to laugh.
I've never heard that term in my life.
They're laughing behind his back. So it's called snigger or sniggering. So it's to laugh and be behind someone's back. It's not an outright laugh, but yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's not.
Oh my god. He looks like Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Oh. So remember, I sent you those 2 quotes, and you put the one up for Alan Davis, but the first one you put up, that one.
What's this?
So this is very interesting. This there's an amazing book by George Corey called Kimota, which is, he interviewed everybody about Marvel Man and Miracle Man. He contacted everybody and interviewed them and put out an amazing book. It's very expensive to get hold of because Marvel refused to allow him to go back to press with it and print more of them once they bought Marvel Man.
Oh, shit.
But it's an amazing book. If you can track it down on eBay, if you're a Marvel Man fan, it's really worth finding.
You need it.
However, he interviewed Mick Anglo, the creator of Marvel Man. And one of the important things that was very relevant was whether Mick Anglo was consulted at all in when Des and Alan and Gary bought Marvel Man back. And when contacted, he said, yes, Des had contacted me and he wanted to revive it. I said, go ahead, do what you like as far as I'm concerned. He had no interest in it at all.
And that's funny. I can't remember the name of the people in America that published it.
Yeah. Now, hold on. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. So he said he put in an interview, yes, Des contacted him and he could do it and all that and could go ahead. And he had no interest in it at all. Flash forward to early 2000s and a record producer in Glasgow reached out through a cousin of his to Mick and said, look, I can get you some money for this. and at the time, Mick Anglo, his wife had cancer. He wasn't doing so great himself. So basically it was like, well, what do you need me to do? And just say that you never get told Des you have permission to do it. And so he signed a piece of paper that said that was true. Because, you know, unfortunately for Des is one of those guys who, this is where it bit him in the arse, where he should have got something in writing with me. He just got his word and then just went on with it and did it. Unfortunately, he didn't have anything in writing, which he could show. But Mick at the time was fully up for like, yeah, go with it. I don't care. Now, when he needed the money, was willing to say, okay, I'll tell people I didn't give Des permission.
That is so wrong. Why there's such a convoluted history with this character, man? So much.
It's one of the reasons why it's often referred to as a poison chalice. Everybody that's come in contact with it. I mean, it's why, as I was trying to explain earlier, Alan didn't want his name on this, even though at one point when we were negotiating with the so-called holders like Mick Anglo and this Scottish record producer for the rights.
Yeah.
When we were shopping the movie and developing the movie, I wouldn't go forward with it unless I had something in writing from Alan to say that he was okay.
Oh, I got you.
And Alan did. The only thing he said, God bless you, good luck with it all. We could have put his name on the publishing. The publishing was not an issue. He had no problems with that. But a film, any other adaptation of his work, he just said, just don't give me a credit, just give the money to Gary, Alan, and John.
Wow. And where's this from?
That's the cover of A1 #1. That's the which featured it's why some people often think of A1 as a follow-on from Warrior in a way, because Gary Leach was the art director for Warrior magazine as well as the artist for Marble Man. So he was the co-creator of the Warp Smiths. So when we started A1, Gary had a script from Alan Moore for the last part of the Warp Smith story. And he said, well, why don't I finish his story off? And we'll put it in A1. And he put Warp Smith on the cover.
What was the reason why Gary left the book? Was it time constraint, or why did Gary leave Marvel Man?
So, yes, I was actually just about to come around to that. I was about to answer
Okay,
because I just suddenly remembered your question on Twitter.
Yeah.
So the reason Gary left was because he didn't leave Warrior because he was still doing covers, but he was the art director for the magazine. So he was doing that as well as drawing Marble Man. And to be quite honest, Gary was almost getting paid nothing for the pages. He just couldn't afford to do it. And he wasn't. Gary's a perfectionist. Like, if the original pages for those Warrior stories are like twice up from what you normally see an average comic page. I mean, there's a ton of detail in them. and Gary references everything. He takes photographs to get models in. He gets reference for the actors he was looking for that he wanted to base everything on. So, yeah, it was just too much. He just at the time, even though it was only like 7 or 8 pages a month, that was more than Gary had the time for.
Wow.
So, and it just wasn't cost effective for him. Like, he's not something he could pay the rent on. And he wasn't exactly getting paid a lot to be art director either for the magazine. So,
Right.
That sucks, man. People putting in all this hard work and it's not worth the money. Really?
Wow.
Oh wow,
This is amazing. This is great.
Wow.
Is this Gary?
Yep. Those are some of the designs he did for the Warpsmith.
Oh, fantastic.
Look at this. Very Kirby-esque here for me. Like,
I like the head. I like her head shot. That is very interesting.
this one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit, look at this. This looks fantastic, bro.
That was a cover of an issue of Warrior.
Holy shit, bro. Bro, they don't do stuff like this anymore. Look at this.
So this is the Marvel colored version of Gary's black and white Warpsmith story. Original black and white Warpsmith story.
Black and white so much better, bro. Come on.
Well, it's something about, you see, it was drawn like twice up for a magazine format to be in black and white. And what they did was shrunk it down even smaller and colored it. So it's something that would probably look a hell of a lot better if they reproduced it as yeah.
Yeah, but this looks so great. Look at this stuff. Oh my god, bro. Now you're gonna make me have to hunt these down. Sit down, hunker down again. Look at you. Dave, my wife's not gonna like you guys very much when I'm spending money.
Well, an interesting thing that is, I think Des Skin still has a lot of issues of Warrior in his basement.
Ooh.
So I believe he still sells copies through mail order of issues of Warrior. He might be a couple of issues now, but I'm sure there's quite a few you can still get from him if you reach out to him.
Yeah, these are beautiful, beautiful books, man. So I'm definitely
very lovely.
Yeah, right? Amazing.
Great.
Love it. I mean, even look at Big Homie here. Holy shit.
Now, see that?
Yeah.
Now, do you know the history behind this story?
No, again, let us know. Preach.
Well, this was a one-off story called The Yesterday Gambit, and it takes place towards the end of the story of where the Warpsmiths and Marvel Man are teaming up against young Marvel Man, Kid Marvel Man. And so at this particular point, Alan had a rough idea where he was going, but it wasn't fully fleshed out. So they did this story with Steve Dillon did the art for it. It was a look into the future. It was like, at this point, Warpsmiths hadn't actually been introduced to the story. So this was a very far-flung look into the future. And it was a showdown between Warpsmith, Marvel Man, and Kid Marvel Man.
It's why you don't give kids power books. Power corrupts the kids.
Well, the interesting thing is, I like this even better. Power reveals. Once you get power, you show your true character.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
Oh, it's a gorgeous shot.
You don't need color, man. And again, this looks so much like Toyo Harada to me, bro. Insane. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. So Black Adamish, though, even in the color scheme, dude. Come on.
Oh, now there's an interesting. Right, so this shot, if you look at it, go back. If you go back one
more.
Okay. There's what that image represents was the fact that everybody seemed to be after Marvel Man.
Okay.
Marvel Man. No one really cared about the creators. Everyone just wanted Marvel Man. And the hand with the horn on the back of it, the thorn on the back on the gauntlet,
Yeah.
that's actually Spawn's hand, and that represents Todd McFarlane that was trying to get the rights to Marvel Man. If you go, it's the black and white piece where you've got the old school Marvel Man floating in the air with all the hands reaching up. Go back. That's it. Next one. That's the one.
This one.
No. Go back. We'll go forward, I think. Go forward.
Forward. That one.
Next one.
No, the black and white one. The black and white one.
That's one. That one.
No, this.
Yeah. So what that represents?
Spawn is right here.
Everybody. Yeah.
Spawn.
That's Spawn's hands. Because I think I don't think we've shown them, but I sent you some images of Ashley Wood's pages from an issue of Spawn that that had been written by Steve Niles and was going to be the issue of Spawn that Marvel Man or Miracle Man was going to appear in Spawn. And Todd McFarlane had claimed that he had the rights to Marvel Man, Miracle Man, because he bought the film, or he acquired the film to print them from Eclipse when they went under.
Gotcha.
And that's why that relevance of that quote from Mick Anglo earlier about who really, I mean, even though Disney technically owns Marvel Man now, and no one really wants to face Marvel's lawyers or Disney's lawyers, there is no actual proof that they own it. Because the thing is, Mick Anglo, who did he create Marvel Man for? It wasn't creator owned. He worked for a publisher he paid him. They came to him because they wanted something like Marvel Man. They needed Captain Marvel redone. So technically, no one can find any contracts. There's no paperwork. But technically, that publisher, who's out of business now and completely gone, there is no. I don't think they've even have any living heirs left.
Wow.
So it's kind of a discarded. It's almost a discarded property.
Wow. That a big company said, "Okay, well, it's mine now."
Yeah, that's pretty much what's happened.
Wow.
And,
bullshit. I hope somebody challenges them on this. Come on.
But who did they buy it from? Who did they buy it from? Did they buy it from Michelangelo?
What they did is that this record producer from, I think, Glasgow, through his partner turns out to be sort of the niece or sort of the nephew of Anglo. And so what they did is they came up with this idea of like, well, Mick, just tell us that Des lied to you. Just tell us that you never gave your rights away, and we'll reclaim this. And what he did was he went around doing a video interview with every creator saying like, hey, look, Mick Anglo was screwed out of his rights. We give him his rights back. And he's doing all of this so that he could then take the rights from Mick Anglo.
Dirty, of course. There's always a dirty bastard out there, yo. Man like that, yo.
Yeah. And it would, but the thing is, so he told, and he swore, this is a guy who swore to Alan Moore and he swore to myself that he would never, ever sell it to Marvel, which was why Alan was happy to go along with this. And he swore to me many times that he wasn't going to sell it to Marvel. Marvel wasn't even he wasn't even talking to Marvel. He did say he was talking to a toy company, and the toy company was interested, but if we could come up with a better offer, which we did, but we realized that he was just using us as a stalking horse to get Marvel to raise the price.
Wow.
And unfortunately, he would have failed. He would have failed in his attempt had not another comic creator who wanted Marvel to get the rights, basically helped block us from successfully getting the rights, which ended up, yeah. So otherwise, if it hadn't been for
benefited, fuck this guy out of here.
So yeah, we if we'd managed to do this, there would have been decent Marvel Man prints of the copies of the books out with Alan's name on it, and we would have, Nick Angler would have got money, everyone would have got money, but this record producer wanted more money so that he could make more money out of it for himself and not. And I'm presuming Mick Anglo did eventually get some money, but I'm sure he did. But
I hope so.
It wasn't the full amount, it wasn't the full amount. Most of it was going to this record producer.
Look at that difference, man.
Was the movie you were going to produce a live action movie or animated? Live action?
By the way, what you're seeing on the screen isn't the actual cover. Gary's often recreated the cover he's done commission, so it's a recreation, and the coloring on this particular piece you're seeing on the screen, the coloring was done by Ian Hannon, who was part of Badass Studios that were Wildstorm's colorists. This would have been the cover to the Marvel Man collection, because we would have used Marvel Man. Yep. And because at one point we were talking to, so this horrible logo was actually produced by the producer, because once he realized that he couldn't even use the Marvel Man logo, because the Marvel Man logo was created by Gary and Gary owned it. Okay. And that included the logo on his chest, Gary did the logo for Marvel Man and Miracle Man. Oh. And as he'd never signed the rights away for it, he still owned it. So these were all attempts by this record producer to come up with a different M logo to put on his chest.
Ooh, and he did.
Well, he did this one. He said it's not the same because it's not 2 M's, it's 1. And it's like, it's the same design guy. I'm sorry, mate, but it's Gary's. you at some point, someone's going to have to do that. And I included Barry Smith's drawings of Marvel Man just because I'm plugging Monster, but
yes, you
are. It's like I've been waiting for that book for 30 years. I was very lucky enough I went up to see Barry at his house in Westchester, in upstate New York, and got to see the original pages of what would have been the Hulk graphic novel that became Monsters. So it's nice to actually see it finally in print.
He's a monster artist, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
See, Barry would have been a great artist for Marvel Man.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
I mean, what would have been great in a way, I mean, again, it's like, I love Alan Davis, but if Gary could have held on and drawn the first book, Barry do the second book, and John Totleben do the third book, I think we'd have like a amazing trilogy of books.
It's beautiful imagery, man. Look at this stuff.
Yeah, this is John Totleben. That's a commission piece he did.
Yeah, definitely, I like the second one. Oh, shit.
Rick V.
Push on headlock. Oh, shit. Ripped them off. God damn, bro. So much hate for my boy Spawn. God damn, Marvel Man ripped his head off. Poor Al. And that's Sandman too, ain't it? Dream?
Yep.
That's fucked up, bro. Damn, bro.
It's all a dream. It's a dream.
Apparently.
Mhm.
Oh, this is great.
Yes, Mick Austin's cover. So these are the Ashley Wood drawings, which would have been like a cover on some of the pages from Spawn that never happened.
Damn.
Never saw print.
Wow, bro. I would have loved to have seen Miracle Man or Marvel Man in that and in the Spawn universe. Holy shit, that would have been wild. Miracle time. Oh shit. I'm out with that, boy. Wow. Wow.
I mean, it would have looked. I mean, it would have looked great. I mean, Ashley Wood's artwork was great.
Yeah, bro. Holy shit.
Great.
Bro.
Great.
And it would have been very interesting to see like how Marvel Man would have been handled by someone like Steve Niles, who's a great horror writer.
Mm-hmm. Like, he's a horrific character, especially what the fuck happened in the OG story. I mean, you know, it's not like not your everyday superhero. It's horror, bro.
Yeah.
But I still think that once Miracle Man's story's been told and we've got the Neil Gaiman issues out, I think it's only a matter of time that we'll see a different version of Marvel Man. He'll look the same. He'll be Mike Moran, but he'll appear in the Marvel universe.
Of course, a much more weakened and toned down version that Captain Marvel, you know, is going to beat up all the time. So that's what I foresee. Man, look at that, the end of that bad boy right there.
Very cool.
Holy shit, bro! And and then he also sent this. This is the last one you sent.
Oh yeah.
With Steve Moore and Alex Ross. Now, fucking Ross touching some Miracle Marvel Man, bro.
Yep.
Holy
well, this
shit,
was
bro.
from there was a 3-issue series from Eclipse called the Marvel Man Apocrypha or a Miracle Man Apocrypha, and this was from the 3rd issue, and it's a story by written by Steve Moore and an upcoming artist called Alex Ross.
Upcoming at the time. Look at that shit.
It's great, isn't it? Looks great.
Oh, beautiful.
Fantastic.
I mean, right now you already see you can see the marvels that he did here too, and the take he was the approach he's gonna do, and the coloring, everything.
Amazing.
Goddamn beast, bro. He's a fucking beast. Holy shit. And this is just the early days. I mean, and he's gotten so much better. Amazing.
But it's already very nice looking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The fact that Marvel Man in this beside him, like it's so effortlessly, but he's not flying. He's just floating. He's just walking through the air.
How nice just to walk through the air like Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk, right? I heard, Dave, that you could pull off a mean moonwalk. Is that true?
A few years ago. I haven't tried for a while, so.
We're not getting any younger. We're not getting any younger. That was very gorgeous.
That's true.
And you see, folks, for those people that believe that the Earth is flat, look, there's a curvature there, right?
Oh, really? I'm shocked.
Hey.
I can't believe people think that the Earth is flat. Really? Haven't you seen the fucking images? The shit is round, bro. How can you explain the curvature? Come on, stop it.
See, Dave chickened out when you said that the Earth is curved.
I know he got angry at us, apparently. We're about to say you left in protest that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, I am not a flat earther, so
Bro, but look at that shit crash. You don't save it. What type of Superman is that, bro?
Well, no, he doesn't. See, if you read the script, you'll understand why he doesn't save the astronaut.
My trip, my dream, just the way it should be. Don't intervene.
Yep.
If it's meant to be, it shall be.
This is basically Dr. Manhattan. Here we go. Full circle.
No, it's actually that story. That story is really, it's about an astronaut who he wants to do it on his own back, and he doesn't think he needs to be saved. And he goes, even if I die, I die. But I want to do this my way.
Okay,
and
I see.
so he lets Miracle Man just watch him die.
So basically, the stubbornness of the human will. You gotta let me do it. Don't interfere. Hey, listen, bro. If you able, listen. If you see I'm about 500, feet from crashing, just please, yo, pick me up. Give me the chance still to try, please.
But no, I see. What I like about that story is it reminds me of the way Jack Kirby handled Superman, in that he acknowledged that humans still needed to achieve. Like, he knew that Superman could do things that they could never do, but they still wanted to do it, and he didn't want Superman to take it from him. So he did that interview with Jimmy Olsen where he's got this heavyweight champion who's like, yeah, he's heavyweight champion, but he knows he can't beat Superman. So it's like, you can be the top of your game, but then there's Superman.
Well, and no matter what, you can't beat Supes. Unless let Lex Luthor, be part of the Everyman Project, get souped up a little bit and then say, let's go toe to toe, Supes. Let's do it, kiddo. I think Chris would be this one among us to fight Superman. I think Chris is the only one that would step up there for Superman right now.
Definitely.
Lex Luthor.
Definitely. Always like Luthor better. Here we go.
Hey man, you read the Lex Luthor story, right? How that all turns around at the end, and basically Luthor, House of L, he's basically Superman's ancestor. Some wild shit.
Makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, that story. I love that story.
Oh boy, damn, bro! Look at it. We went through all those amazing pictures. I can't believe it. That's a miracle.
Yeah, amazing.
That's actually a miracle.
It's a miracle. It's a marvel. It's a marvel.
It's a marvel. It's marvelous.
It's marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
Man, finish up. I want to get my stupid because you sent us the treatment, right? Wasn't it? What you were hoping to do. Not that I'm going to show it, but you had some stuff going on with the movie. Stuff, and
it's basically how we were going to handle the trilogy.
So it was a live action movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, too bad then.
Folks, you have no idea what we're looking at. I do want to bring this up again. Allow me to read it and have that time, but just from what I'm just perusing and picking up on some lines, it's like, okay, damn, bro, this would have been fucking amazing.
I mean, it was. We got. I can't tell you the. I don't think I'm able. I shouldn't really tell you the name of the director, but it was a
okay.
It was a top director.
That was an A-list director.
Absolutely top A-list director wanted to do it,
right.
And a top A-list screenplay writer was going to basically work off that treatment.
Say word, damn. So how about pitching this to Disney Marvel? Make this a Netflix movie series. I mean, a Disney Plus movie series. What's up?
It might be the. I'd see. I think they could. Their struggle. I mean, there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there that Marvel's going to have to well, we can't do that. How about we just have Johnny Bates? Someone rubs his face in his lunch instead of rapes him.
Okay. Marvel Man, the High School Musical.
Oh shit! Right there we go. Gargonzo. He got to sing that shit. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Can you imagine the first Marvel Man movie being sort of all ages, and then the second one being sort of NC-17?
Holy shit! Right? You go from G to NC-17 overnight. Like, what in the hell just happened? Like, that's Marvel Man. Marvel Man.
Yeah, but I think Disney Plus is also building an R-rated segment, aren't they?
That's what I'm saying, yo. I mean, yeah, but Dave's right. They would never allow that rape scene. Never. Ever.
But look, I think that this is probably what makes the difference between Marvel and DC, in that I can't see Marvel doing outside of I know that Deadpool's are going to be R-rated, but that's like comedy. I can't see them doing an R-rated Marvel movie that's R-rated for violence and sort of, nudity.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was really disappointed by the Shang-Chi trailer. I really hated it.
Really? I mean, it's just a trailer.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's just the first trailer. We're gonna get more to get to that.
But no offense to the actor, but they cast the most non-male looking guy they could find. I mean, Shang-Chi is basically Bruce Lee. He's all about masculinity, and they cast a guy who looks like Jackie Chan. I mean, this is not Shang-Chi.
Masculinity, is the enemy of the world.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I know that.
Hey,
but it's the Shang-Chi we are talking about here.
Yeah, well, I was upset that he wasn't wearing red pajamas and had long hair.
Yeah, I get you. We should, have some respect for the old school. Come on, bro. Give us that. Give us a little something, bro.
It's funny. It was. I think I saw the trailer on the same day that I saw a bunch of tweets talking about how Marvel was so good at having all the characters in their Marvel movies looking exactly like the comics.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. As if ridiculous.
But it's that thing. But it's that thing, isn't it? It's like nowadays, it's like, well, okay, this is what we're doing with Shang-Chi, and this is what he's going to look like. We need you to draw him like this in your comics.
Oh yeah, of course. It's always movie to comics, not the other way around as it should be.
Right.
At least Miss Marvel, though. Did you see those images for the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel? They did a great job with the costume.
They did. They did.
I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, yo. All right, yeah. At least respect something. But do they only respect it's a modern character? Because they don't respect classic characters to me.
I mean, we also need to take into account that this is a property from the 70s in modern context, so they have to adapt it a little bit. I understand that. That's no problem, and it doesn't look as atrocious as Iron Fist. Let's put it that way.
Oh, listen, anybody could be. I think if us three were to make a kung fu film, it would be better than anything Iron Fist.
Yeah.
It'll be mega.
But I'm really stoked for the Doctor Strange movie. I'm really stoked for that one.
That'll have the most fun. Because again, we're going to tour the multiverse and everything else that you could see. I mean, the imagination is open to the possibilities there. You know what I mean?
And I really like Doctor Strange in the Avengers movies. That was really Doctor Strange I liked. It was much better than in his own movie.
Yeah, I think. I think we've all learned those. We should have learned from watching WandaVision that a lot of the gossip and hints that we see online for where it might go aren't always accurate. I mean, I thought it would have been a great, using the same actor for the Pietro Quicksilver in the TV series. I thought would have been a stroke of genius. I mean, I still think this was a stroke of genius the way they did it, but it would have been a great way to have actually segued into introducing the X-Men. But it's clear. But
like a multiverse, yeah.
But I loved the fact that what they did was they by having it not be him and just being a guy down the street, they also said we're recasting, we're not bringing the X-Men in. It's going. We're starting over from scratch. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, that's also a way to go.
I don't want to see A-listers, to be cast. I want to see new blood to the future, because it's enough. Because I see too many A-listers being cast in multiple movies, playing multiple heroes. Like Hollywood, there's more than that. There's so much more talent out there.
Yeah, but remember when these guys were cast originally, nobody wanted Robert Downey Jr. and
Hugh Jackman.
This was not a big star at that time.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. I think it might have been like his second role in film.
Yeah. Right. When I first saw Hugh, I was like, "Damn, bro! They didn't even use a short guy." And at the time, Chris Benoit was still alive. The Wolverine from WWE. Even though he's a murderous bastard that did some fucked up shit, but I had always thought that he was gonna be. Oh, he would be a great Wolverine. He's short, stocky. But then listen, Hugh Jackman did a fantastic job, and now he's
did.
forever Wolverine. He's Logan. It's hard to replace his ass now.
But we said that about William Shatner, and I think even though I think the J.J. Abrams films are quite rightly going to probably be boxed away and not referred to again, I thought he made it. I did think Chris Pine made a good Captain Kirk.
Yeah, but he was not really Captain Kirk, was he?
Well, no, you can't. It's you can't. That's the Shat. It's like
it's Shatner.
And times have changed, bro. Times has changed, so you can't have this man be pimping on everything alien. Like he wants to fuck anything that wants.
I'm actually rewatching the old series at the moment. I mean, there is some cool stuff actually.
Yeah, I think you can't have a Captain Kirk that doesn't fly off the handle and doesn't want to shag everything that walks.
Yeah.
If it walks, it's a danger.
I think that's one of the reasons why I think Christopher Pine, like I think the
casting was fine. I mean,
having Christopher Pine Discovery, Anson Mount. I thought Anson Mount did a great job in Discovery. I wish they just got rid of Discovery and just carried on as the Enterprise.
Isn't that the plan now? Don't they do a series? Are they not doing a series?
No, unfortunately, there's going to be another season of Discovery.
Yeah, but wasn't there a plan to do a series about Pike?
Oh, they are. It's in production. Yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's being showrun by. I think it's being showrun or written by Akiva Goldsman, and
no.
And after Picard, and Lost in Space, I'd like him to keep away from anything I like.
Mm-hmm. God no. Yeah, sometimes I'm really surprised that these guys get new projects.
Oh, I just realized something. Are we still live?
Yes, we
are still live. Definitely. Ben mousing creators here. Here we go.
I just noticed the box in the corner that says we're live still. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm waiting for my Twitter feed to explode. You hate Akiva Goldsmith? How can you? We must cancel you now. Please.
I doubt it. I think I would imagine we'd probably get quite a people going like, yeah.
Listen.
I'm sure there are Akiva Goldsmith fanboys out there. I shouldn't badmouth Scott Buck. I'm sure he has a lot of fans out there. I hope he has nothing to do with the new Dexter show. I saw the trailer. That got me stoked. That was great. Okay, trailer.
My wife was a big fan of Dexter. She was watching.
Oh, such a great show. Such a great show.
She got me put onto it. I still got to watch kind of the earlier seasons, but then I asked her, like, "Are you interested in watching, him come back into the role, 10 years later?"
The
story, she sounded like you guys did with the Marvel Man. The story's done. What else are they going to do now? I'm like, I find that interesting. What has he been doing the last 10 years? But she's like, no, the story's done for me. It's just I don't.
Do you know what?
Yeah, but the trailer got me. The trailer got me.
I gotta tell her to watch it. She hasn't watched it yet.
She will love it. I liked in a way, I like what they did with the original Star Trek, which was the series was great. I did want more. Then they brought the films out, and it was like great, and it was like a film every 3 years. Great. It's just that was fine, and then they eventually got replaced by the Next Generation. That was fine. And I think Discovery, I've liked certain parts of it. I liked the first season. The second season I really liked only because I think the whole sort of having Christopher Pike in it and the Enterprise in it saved that entire season. The last season was kind of, I mean, it's supposed to be a team, but Michael Burnham character kind of basically saves the universe every other episode, and
who's the team?
I just wish, and it's just like, really, are we going to have another season of her saving the universe every there's a fairly good supporting cast in Discovery, and they should all have their moments. Like the original Star Trek series always had opportunities for people to shine, other characters to win the day, particularly in Next Generation.
That's all that shows, is there's an agenda there, and that's that. It's just, just create good story, get away from the agendas, folks. Just make good stories, please. Interesting stories, and use the goddamn cast.
Well, supposedly the new series with Chris Pike, which is called, I think it's Strange New Worlds. Is supposed to be back to the original Star Trek formula of a done-in-one. So it's going to be a story, basically. So that'll be if they do that, that'll be cool. If they have some really good writers on it, that'll be even better.
Before we go, since you're on the Star Trek thing, you know me, I love my pop culture stuff and I love cartoons. Have you guys watched Star Trek Lower Decks? And what are your thoughts on the animated? No. It's not like no Lower Decks.
No, I mean,
I'm an old guy. I watch the old episodes right now on Netflix.
I think there's enough. The problem is, I think it's that thing of there's enough Star Trek to watch.
Okay. It's no reason like nope. No.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Here we go.
Enough. You know what? We have this whole Star Trek shit. Maybe next episode, I got something to give away then to one of our viewers.
Oh, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, we're on a Star Trek bench. I got this awesome Star Trek Voyager book, bro.
Oh, look at this. Now, here we go.
Nice, sealed courtesy of Hero Collector.
Shall we do Planetary next?
Yeah, we should. We're gonna go sci-fi. It'll be a perfect fit into, giving this away to somebody next week.
Talking about the 4. Yay.
Oh shit. Yeah, and you know what? Anyway, this is Kate Mulgrew, right? That's the name.
Yeah.
Kate Mulgrew, right? Check it out on our YouTube channel. I did a very lost tape show, and it's actually a panel.
Yeah.
Hey,
I saw that.
Loved before the Janeway project, of course. Because somebody was like, "Wait, she's talking about like this is before the show." I'm like, actually, a couple of years ago. So,
wow. Cool.
Just to answer, so Chris just threw out talking about Planetary next. The only problem with that is I have to reread them all.
Oh, really? Oh, come on now. You can't really reread them. There are so many.
It's a lot. There's like what?
Yeah. I'm not 27. I'm not going to reread those. I do that from memory. I read them like 6-7 years ago.
Oh, I read them much longer ago than that. I read them as they came out. No, I got them. I never knew what that was, and then I was new to Comixology, and they had the omnibus. Get this, the complete Planetary for $10.
Ooh, complete, nice.
For how much?
$10, and I got that, and I read it in a couple of days. So wow,
this is the best thing. What, £8? I don't know, bro.
How?
Yeah, I think I paid €10 for this. That was $10 at that time. 10 euros. A special offer, $9.99 for the complete run. Plus the extras, the one shots.
Wow.
That's $1.50, bro. Look at you.
And all the
the one shots were not included, but the Hulk story was included. The sort of intro that was included. The 27 issues and this 5 or 6 pages where they did the Hulk.
What about the Justice League stories?
No, I got those separately.
Okay.
But the entire run, 450 pages or something, that was fantastic.
Oh damn! For $10, well worth it. Look at you. All right,
yeah.
It's all digital, of course. It's nothing in paper, but great way to read it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what we should do is we should actually ask if anybody's watching and they've got any ideas they think that we can handle. They want us to talk about, throw them out. We can let's. I think to talk about the Planetary, I've got.
Okay, we can do that later.
Read them again.
All right,
Yeah,
so let's pick
it's been
something
a long.
sci-fi.
It's been,
Throw in something on the sci-fi narrative. That's what I would love for us to tackle. Something on a real sci-fi, even if it's superheroic, but on the more sci-fi side, I would love.
yeah, film and
I mean,
TV.
what would be a good way to, would be what we could do is talk about Hollywood Al Williamson.
Oh, Al Williams is a Star Wars. Hell yeah, bro. That motherfucker was a boss on them shits. I keep finding imagery by Al. My God, yo.
Flash Gordon. Look at his Flash.
Oh
Gordon.
yeah. Oh. I do have his Flash Gordon work,
but not the Flash Gordon movie adaptation. His original Flash Gordon strips.
Yeah. I got that too. I got the Flash Gordon. I got the Williamson Flash Gordon book. Also, I got it here on my shelf. I'm not going to pick it up now, but I got the Flash Gordon. Oh, I can actually pick it up. Hang on a second.
It's just
and also the Al Williams, the Archie Goodwin and Al Williamson Star Wars newspaper strip.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I find so much.
Was a really tight. Yeah, I mean that was a really tight little strip. I mean, it's not really. You look at what Star Wars is today, and it's not really doesn't feel very Star Warsy, but great little science fiction strip.
Absolutely. I mean, Al was made to do sci-fi, yo. Holy
shit! Here you go. Here you go. Oh, here you go. Great Al Williamson art here.
Oh man, look at that.
Gorgeous artwork here. All the best.
Oh,
it's all here. Yeah. It's all fantastic. Oh, this is so gorgeous.
That's a great book. Let's just scoop that. That's fantastic looking. Look at that's a big boy. Holy shit.
That's a complete run from the 60s. When they rebooted Flash Gordon in the 60s.
Who published that?
Oh, I don't know. I have to look it up. But this is now on Dark Horse. You can get those on Dark Horse.
Okay. Okay, that's
interesting fact is Al Williamson kept all his original artwork for the Flash Gordon. Yeah, it was. In fact, it was back when Gary and myself were doing A1. The only time we disagreed, well, it wasn't so much Gary and myself. It was the Titan distributors were actually financing us on the book, and the only time we disagreed on anything was it wasn't officially Titan. It was the director, Mike Lake.
Yeah,
and I told him, I said, "Oh, guess what? I've got the chance. I've spoken to Al Williamson. He's got the original artwork for Flash Gordon. I want to reprint a Flash Gordon story in A1." And he was like, and his action was like, "No, please don't do that."
Oh shit!
It's reprint. It's reprint, and there shouldn't be any reprint in A1. I'm going like, but it's Al Williamson. It's from his original artwork. It's Flash Gordon. It's like, no, please don't. And he didn't force. It wasn't like he didn't force us to, but but Mike had been so supportive and had helped us finance A1 that we were like, okay, all right, we won't include it, which I regret. I really regret not printing.
I just looked it up. It was Kingfishers.
Kingfishers. Holy shit!
Because obviously they had the rights also from the newspaper strips.
Wow.
But Al Williamson had held on to the original artwork, so we could have actually got brand new, top quality scans directly from him.
That's crazy. For me, that's absolutely insane. The access you have, Dave. I mean, fuck, bro.
What's also interesting is that Jill Kane also did artwork on this.
Oh yes, he did. And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, it's funny. I was such an Al Williamson fan. I remember getting a really nice book by Dan Barry. Dan Barry's Flash Gordon.
Oh, beautiful.
But to be honest, I bought the book because there's some Frank Frazetta artwork in there.
Sure.
He was little titties, the Frank Frazetta titty pictures.
But to be honest, it's one of those things where at the time I was so in love with Al Williamson and Alex Raymond's version of Flash Gordon that when I saw Dan Barry's, there was less fantasy. It looked more solid sci-fi. that I wasn't so interested. I was like, oh, I don't like this.
Gotcha.
But years later, I look back on it and I see, because I was lucky enough to work with Dan Barry later on.
Open ICC Twitter. I just sent you something.
Oh, I'm adding it. Give me 1 second before we go, folks. We're gonna add something that Chris done sent over. That's
maybe you can share it.
Oh yes,
I want to share.
That's gorgeous. But that's actually a scan from the comic.
Right.
Look at this.
That's the first. That's the first page here from this book.
Ah, so they took it from. So they scanned the comics rather than got access to the original artwork.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's beautiful. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
The city.
No. It's not from. No. Just to clear this up. This is cleaned up artwork here in this book. I just took this from the internet. This is cleaned up.
Oh,
no, this is cleaned up. No. This is original. This is cleaned up artwork. This is from the original. This is from the original issue.
Wow. That's it. Look at Al, man. His work is just fuck, bro.
It's so good.
We ain't getting talent like that. No, I mean, I'm not to take away from the crop of talent now, but I mean, there's just something special about.
So why not let's do the next show about Al Williamson. We can include his CC work.
Yeah.
And Flash Gordon.
Oh, actually, I'll tell you what we should do is Al Williamson, Frank Frazetta, and Wally Wood, because those three work very closely together.
Definitely. You can also have Roy Krenkel in there, and
well, Roy Krenkel was kind of like almost like grandfather to the three of them.
Angelo Torres is also another guy who comes to mind.
Wow. Folks, you hear these names we dropping, right? So, get that broom and that dustpan because you're going to be sweeping.
And if you want to catch up on those guys, I have some handy EC Comics column on Comics Crusaders. You can go look for my name. And I have I wrote 12 columns about EC comic creators.
Only 12?
Only 12, yes. I only wrote 12. And they each 20,000 words long. So you have something to do.
God. Exactly.
Yes.
Something for you to open up your tablet, go on your porch with a nice Cavassier or nice whiskey and just read. You're going to love it.
This coming from a man who's just editing his first novel, which is 280,000 words.
God damn.
Here you go.
Congrats, though, bro. You're doing it,
Here you go.
Awesome.
Here you go.
Well,
let's do it, folks. We got to do a closeout. Because in a half hour from now, guys, I'm actually going to interview a director from Geek Fest Film Fest that did a movie called The Confessions of the Bat.
Ooh. I'm just looking at some Al Williamson artwork here. You want to see some dino art by Al Williamson? You want to see some dinos? Let's do some dinos.
Always.
Let's do some dinos here. Hang on. Give me a second. Just put this in here. And then I put it on Twitter so you guys can share it. Where's my Twitter feed? Here, it's my Twitter feed. See, that's how you do it, kids. You do it live on a live stream. And share it.
And share it. There you go. Oh, shit. Look at that. Oh, man. Yeah, folks. Let me show you this. We're going to leave in a minute, but you got to see this, too. Jesus Christ. We'll be here all day. I'm telling you. Look at it.
I love those spacesuits. Like the.
Oh yeah, they show you the women.
Oh yeah,
that's important.
Look at that.
That's important.
I mean, look at it. Isn't that snow? Aren't they cold?
Yeah.
That's Mongo. They're on Mongo, I think.
Well, I'm sure those suits are well insulated.
Definitely.
Apparently.
Definitely. So it's Flash Gordon with an E. It's Flash Gordon with an E. Mm-hmm.
Well,
love, man. Such great stuff.
That is Al Williamson, our man. Such a fantastic artist.
Yep. So tune in 2 weeks, folks, so we could check that bad boy out. And with that, I'm out with Chris, with Dave. Thank you for tuning in to another National Comic Crusaders. And of course, check out
Auf Wiedersehen. Yes, come to my articles.
So visit undercovercapes.com. Visit undercovercapes.com. Check out Chris's columns on comiccrusaders.com via always at Accountable Confidential. Yes, tons of columns there. And of course, check out David, anything he's doing, because he has a whole bunch of stuff happening soon. So yeah, be on the lookout, man. It's gonna be hot.
Yeah, I'll be able to actually start talking about some of the graphic novels I'm working on. So,
folks, so if you learn, man.
Share some artwork. Share some artwork.
Cheers, Snowmation. Thanks for hanging.
So, bye-bye.
And with that, mi gente, much love, and we see you in what, 2 weeks, right? Wepa.
Wepa.
Amen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye, guys.